Well, hello out there, and here we go again. I suppose you could say that for humanity, all is foresight or aftersight, and I'm not very good at either one. And I feel that John Oliver doesn't get anywhere near the credit that he deserves. His show on HBO on Sunday night at 11 p.m. explores all of the underbelly of today's world, and there's no lack of material in this genre. Beside the topics, which are always rock solid and masterfully deployed, what really hits me the hardest is his emotional rage and resounding anger, disbelief, and frustration of today's world. And I can certainly identify with it. He digests each insane and disgraceful topic and spews his outrage with passion, commitment, and somehow makes it humorous, along with his animated body motions, which is not always easy to do. I think and have thought that this show, which is now in its 10th season, is the best show on TV, bar none. And somehow, despite all of his fervor and passion, it seems that not even he can change the world, but no one comes closer. And recently, my wife had what I thought was an interesting conversation with one of her clients who was constantly traveling with various people and consequently called my wife one Saturday morning to tell her that she, being his guest, has to pay her way and proceeded to give her the credit card number for the cruise. And when the conversation was over, I told her, that's gangsta. Why should he pay her way? That's the way to do it. If you can't pay, you can't play. That's it. Get nosier. I believe that most people regret more what they didn't do than what they did. I certainly regret things that I did and said, but it pains me more on what I should have done that I didn't. Navigating through life in one's younger years is tentative at best, at least it was for me. But you learn from your misjudgments and move on. And at this point in my life, if I did anything wrong in my younger days, I'm sure that they've forgotten them too. At least I hope so. And I'm very pleased to see that this morning the Senate Judiciary Committee set to authorize issuing subpoenas as it relates to the Judiciary Committee's Supreme Court ethics. And as the saying goes, who the hell judges the judges? Thank you, and make sure you dig deep. Since I had been diagnosed with hearing loss in my right ear about 2 years ago, I went through a process of getting it evaluated again since the first group of ENT doctors gave me very little confidence in their approach. So after another evaluation, they give me the brochures and paperwork since they now want me to get an MRI to be sure that it's not something critical. The brochure starts off claiming that older adults with hearing loss are more likely to experience the symptoms of cognitive decline, which is obvious. Then it goes on to explain that hearing is a partnership between your ears and your brain. It's very obvious. When someone speaks, your brain processes the sound so that you can understand them. That's called cognitive load. Sorry. The one thing they did not state is that they didn't take one's spouse into consideration. That's called spousal overload. I don't know why they overlooked this, but the medical specialist should dive into this likely connection. My poor wife. If you think about the show Seinfeld, it's actually an existential show, which basically explores the meaning of our existence. And their philosophy was that humanity is selfish, weak, and inconsistent. The Seinfeld show, for the most part, makes a fairly accurate assessment. Note that doubt is a necessary precondition to meaningful action, and fear is the great mover in the end. I don't know where I saw that, but there are always more questions than answers in life. And life is a game, they say, but sometimes it's not a game. And I once read that writing is a kind of very imaginative whining, which of course is what I'm doing right now. It would take too much time for me to apologize for all my faults, mistakes, and foolishness. But if you were to point them out to me, I would be agreeable and accept your declarations. Oh, too late for that. The fast food industry is a very competitive one, and it has, in the past 3 decades or so, faced a lot of opposition and criticism for its lack of regard for what they're producing and selling. However, I recall hearing some food specialist, researcher, or consultant mention that the fast food industry, is actually an important resource for people in inner cities and suburban areas since it does offer food at affordable prices and is nourishment, since many restaurants and grocery stores can be out of reach for these families. And the fast food industry does offer more healthy dietary, low salt, and reduced carb selections. And two quotes from Donald Barthelme: the work ethic should be replaced by the fear ethic. And self criticism is natural in people, but it can also be an obstacle as it can produce more self criticism than can be usefully absorbed and accommodated. And I'm familiar with that one. You know the saying, make excuses or make it happen. Well, I got to lean with the excuses side simply because there are so many of them that you could use. And of course, my wife falls for none of them. She knows me way too well, but I use them in hope. And then my question is, make what happen? Maybe I don't want to make that happen. And as I stated, I've got a boatload of excuses, such as I had to take care of something, keep it vague. I got held up in traffic. I was at the doctor's office. I had to run an errand for my wife. My car broke down. Most cars don't break down now. And the best one is, I forgot. I use that one all the time. And remember, there is a saying that goes, what is the one thing that men and women agree on? They both enjoy the company of men. And I didn't make this up. I read it or heard it sometime or somewhere a while ago, but couldn't find it online. And lastly, there are certainly a lot of very hip songs, especially from jazz artists. But as Donald Fagen says when he plays Black Cow from the Asia album, he always sings, Uptown baby, getting down, baby, we hold the crown, baby. And that is one slick tune, along with every other song in that album. And I'll end here.